Hey guys. Um, I want to talk about something today, something that probably happens often, and a lot of people don't realize how often it's happening. I want to start with last year. Last year, I one day had my heart racing, and I was driving. I was going to pick my daughter up from school, and all of a sudden, I just like couldn't feel my breath, and my heart was just racing and I couldn't figure out what was going on. I I said, I think I need to turn around and I need to go to the emergency room. I will call my friend, I will have her go pick my daughter up, and I will go straight to the hospital. So that's what I did. I walked into my local ER and I said, "Look, my heart's racing. I'm not feeling good. There's something going on." And I immediately was taken to the back. I was put on a heart monitor and I went through two bouts of what they nurses were saying was SVT. Um, After the second bout, there was a third bout, and I was told that I would be admitted. And I was admitted. I was treated very well. I saw a cardiologist. He told me that I was perfectly fine. I was young, and since this had never happened before, I could go home and just follow up with a cardiologist. So here I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to be fine. They started me on a beta blocker. They put me on metotrexate. Um, and it was a very small dose because I did have high blood pressure at the time as well. So they wanted to monitor my blood pressure and my heart rate with this beta blocker until I saw a cardiologist. So I ended up finding a cardiologist. I went to see the cardiologist. I was starting to feel a little dizzy. I was lightheaded um, all the time. Like it was starting to happen like all day long. I would be standing somewhere, my blood pressure would be high, and I would be lightheaded. I would be dizzy, and I just felt like something was wrong with me. And I thought maybe it was the beta blocker. I was like, maybe we need to switch the beta blocker. So I told the cardiologist, and he did put me on a different beta blocker. I continued to get worse. I did not get better. I would call the cardiologist at this point, probably daily, reporting my symptoms, saying, "Hey, should I be feeling this way? I don't feel good. Something is really wrong with me." So the cardiologist said, "Go and get some compression socks. That might help, and maybe you have POTS." So POTS was brought up, and I did all my research. I looked into POTS. I was like, okay, this does sound like POTS maybe, because every time I stand up, my heart rate goes up. Every time I go to do something, my heart rate will go up. So I was like, yeah, maybe I have POTS. But how the hell did I get it? I'm 45 years old, like about to be 46. How the fuck did I get POTS? So then I'm looking into like COVID and all these other things, and I'm like, well, maybe I got it when I got COVID, and it's just gonna go away eventually. So I started that new beta blocker. I started wearing compression socks. I started drinking salt. I started losing a shit ton of weight, and I don't even know how. I was like, all of a sudden, I was like skinny again. I was happy about that, but I was feeling like shit every day. So I think all started in August. So this is probably like mid-September. I started going to the ER because my heart rate would just like hit a 160 or a 150, and I'd be like scared. I was like, now I've got anxiety. Now I've got panic because every time my heart beats, I think I'm going to die because it's going to go over like 225. I'm going to go, into SVT or something. So, because they had to say at the beginning that I was having SVT, which later down the road I found out I wasn't having SVT, but I was just having rapid heart rates. So, anyways, now the doctors in the ER are saying you're having anxiety. Here's some anxiety medicine, and giving me anxiety medicine and sending me home. Then I'm like at home, and in the middle of the night I wake up and my heart's racing at a 130 or 140, and it won't go down. So now I'm calling 911 consecutively. I think 911 came to my house maybe 30 times. Took me to the hospital probably 20, because 10 of those times they kind of refused to take me at this point. They were just kind of like fed up with me. And every time I go to the hospital, I would get a doctor that I had already seen. And he would tell me that not to come back. That was anxiety. That I have like a psychological problem. Now, here I'm thinking to myself, this has never happened to me before. I have never felt this bad. Not even when I had anxiety had I ever felt this bad. So now I'm like, okay, what the fuck is going on? And why are these doctors dismissing me? They're just sending me home. So I finally went to an electrophysiologist, and he was like, we'll go ahead and see if we can find your SVT. We'll do a procedure. We'll see if we can do an ablation. We'll go through your groin. We'll also put a loop recorder into your chest and monitor your heart rates and go from there. So before all of this, before the electrophysiologist and all that, I was having I was having shortness of breath. But with POTS, you call it air hunger. So here I'm thinking I'm having air hunger, and I'm having like these horrid POTS symptoms. But yet I'm talking to all these people that have POTS, and they're saying that that's not really how I feel. Like occasionally I'm lightheaded and dizzy. I'm not lightheaded and dizzy all day, not 24/7. And my heart rate usually is fine at rest. I don't wake up with 140 heart rate, but you could have IST, which is inappropriate sinus tachycardia, which my cardiologist had mentioned that as well. And that's when you have rapid heart rate at rest and you have rapid heart rate when you are exerting yourself. You could just have it all day long, I guess. So at this point, I'm like, just need to know what's going on. So I have the procedure done in February of last year, a year ago today. I have the procedure done. And well, actually, it was the 31st. I'm sorry. A year ago today, something else happened. Something horrid. So that once they did the procedure, I went home. They didn't find anything. They were like, we didn't find anything. We didn't, see anything. We couldn't do anything. And I was like crying, because I was like, at this point, I was so depressed. Nobody believed me. I looked like I was perfectly fine. I had lost a shit ton of weight. I looked great. I looked like I could work, but I couldn't. I couldn't do anything. I just, I felt so bad. I literally felt like I was dying. I felt it every single day. And it was getting worse and worse and worse. So 2 days after my procedure, it was like February 2nd, I went to bed, and I woke up on the 3rd, and my heart rate was high as usual when I wake up. But the difference was that I just felt so tired. I felt like my life was just ending. So I was itchy on my chest because they put the loop recorder in, and somehow or fucking another, I got a fungus infection from the loop recorder. And I was like, go figure, how does that even happen, So I went to the ER. Well, I had my husband take me to the ER. And as he was taking me, I started to feel worse, and I said, pull over. we have to call 911. I said, something is wrong. So we called 911 again. And when they got to me, they did my vitals. They were like, yeah, your heart rate's a little high, but your vitals are good. Your husband can continue driving you. And my husband was like, no, you're going to drive her. Because at this point, he was scared because he knew that I was feeling something different. It was like at times I would felt like this prior. So this is where this gets a little tricky. So we get to the hospital and they have me wait in the waiting room. They're like, let's just have her wait all day. Who gives a fuck? And finally they call me in to the triage, and the doctor actually sees me in the triage because he was like really busy and he had people in the hallway and people in the rooms or whatever. So he was like, looked at my chest and he's like, oh, we're gonna do a CTA of your chest because I think you might have an abscess from that loop recorder. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, interesting. So I never had heard the word CTA before, but it's when they do a CAT scan of your whole entire chest and they put contrast in your arm and then they take you, your x-rays. So probably like 10-15 minutes later, I go into my chart to check my results from my CAT scan. And I see critical findings. I see pulmonary embolisms. And I said, oh my God, I'm going to die. I like panicked. I was like, already panicked, but when you see something like that, you panic even more. So I was like on this like complete panic where my blood pressure went up to almost 200 and my bottom number was like 150. They rushed me into a room. They immediately put me on blood thinners. They were like, you don't have POTS, you have clots. And I'm like, what? So supposedly I got a DVT during the procedure where the electrophysiologist went into my groin. And supposedly then the clots from the DVT went to my lungs, my lower lobes. And they found multiple clots. Well, I went on Eliquis, the wonder drug for blood thinner. Once I went on Eliquis, I would say maybe 2 weeks later, the lightheadedness and the dizziness, and upon standing, I started feeling better. My heart rate started going down. Occasionally would have these like high heart rates here and there. And I started feeling normal again, like normal, like the gen before the SVT, supposedly the SVT in August of 2023. So at this point, I'm like, why am I getting better? Like I didn't expect to get better. Like I thought I had POTS, Like why do I feel like I don't have POTS anymore? Like what's going on? So I had to go see a hematologist because I'm on Eliquis and a blood thinner. And blood thinners cause all kinds of problems because now I have iron deficiency anemia and heavy periods and all kinds of fun stuff. But anywho, when I went to see him, I told him, look, I'm feeling better. And he's like, maybe you had these clots before you had the procedure. And maybe you got another clot during the procedure. And I said, maybe. I said, because now all of a sudden I'm starting to feel a lot better. And literally, I'm going to tell you this whole year from February to today, February 3rd of last year to February 3rd of this year, I am feeling so good. I don't have as much shortness of breath anymore occasionally because I unfortunately have a chronic clot because they didn't find the clots quick enough and they didn't treat them quick enough. And so I unfortunately have a chronic clot that will probably live with me for the rest of my life. It's like a scar, which is fine, whatever. Occasionally I get shortness of breath. Heart rate, I'm gonna knock on some wood. Haven't had any problems with it. I'm running again. I'm working again. I'm doing things that I did before I got sick. And I don't have POTS, guys. No way in the world do I have POTS. So, if you're feeling those rapid heart rates in your 40s, even in your 30s, all of a sudden, please ask for a CTA, a CAT scan of your chest, because a pulmonary embolism could be fatal and it can kill you. And I literally felt like I was dying for a full year. They were in my lower lobes, but they were coming up, I think, very frequently for some reason. We don't know why. So I'm going to stay on blood thinners. Eliquis is my best friend for the rest of my life, probably. But that's okay because I want to live. But if you're feeling bad and you're going to the doctor for heart problems or rapid heart rate, or you think it's anxiety or panic, please think about this story and pulmonary embolisms, because they can be fatal and they can kill you instantly. Any of these symptoms, lightheadedness, shortness of breath, dizzy, rapid heart rate, especially with exertion and at rest, pre-syncope. There have been times when I thought I was going to pass out. I passed out twice in front of ER doctors, and they thought I was faking. Probably because they sent me home. I had been admitted to the hospital like 5 times, and I was sent home. They couldn't ever find out what was wrong. I don't know, guys. Take your life seriously. Take your symptoms seriously. And don't let anybody fucking gaslight you.